Wouldn't it be cool if Joe Fixit could do damage like this all the time? Let's fix Joe Fixit. Joe Fixit is up for the champion rework buff vote, and I'm voting Fixit. You should too. I'm going to turn Joe Fixit from the memeiest of meme champions into somebody who actually not only is going to be fun to play and useful to play, but somebody who you're going to want to rank up. I'm robvonshoe. Let's take a look real quick at what Joe Fixit does right. So, Joe Fixit, science champion. He's immune to poison, that's great. We're going to keep that. He is a Hulk champion. What else does he do? Well, he's got passive abilities, which is very, very uncommon, including passive heals, passive crit damage, passive fury, and can inflict weakness depending on which suit he winds up drawing. He's also the only science champion that bleeds, which we are also going to wind up keeping for the buff here. And the synergy he has with Kingpin is really cool. It gives Kingpin the 100% increased shrug chance, which is very cool. And, you know, wind up keeping some new things here as well. What does Joe Fixit do that needs work? Everything else. Everything else. And that is what we're going to be talking about here today. So, how do we fix Joe Fixit? Well, let's take a look. What I want to do with Joe Fixit is to keep the things he does well in place and then add that 2021 flair on top of it. So this is how we are going to fix it. We're going to increase the values of those 4 things, right? So what he's got right now is nice, but it's so barely significant it may as well not even happen. We're going to bump the values up, but just a little bit. And the only reason we bump them up a little bit is because we also increase the cap from being able to have 2 suits up to 5 suits, depending on his sig level. Very similar to how Red Guardian functions with his shield charges. Now, Rob, what are you talking about? That's sig 200 and you're only increasing his count by 3. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but there's a reason for that. We're going to wind up tweaking his passives just a little bit. So he's still going to keep the heals. I really want to keep Joe Fixit as a science champion with reliable heals. We're going to wind up changing it to exhaust as well as keeping the crit rate and fury just depending on the suits. Exhaust, I want to do exhaust instead of weakness because exhaust winds up reducing enemy attack as well as reducing their block proficiency. It's a nice newer ability that has found its way with the Luke Cage buff, so there is the precedent there already, but it'd be a nice little new thing to have for Joe Fixit's kit. One of the bigger changes here is that instead of using the heavy attack to cycle your different suits, it's going to be a very Venom the Duck, Jubilee-esque style, where every hit rotates the suit, and you need to throw a special attack to lock that one in. It locks that suit in place for the duration of the fight, which each fight winds up resetting the charges back down to 0. So from fight to fight to fight, Joe Fixit is going to be perfectly tailor-suited for whoever the opponent winds up being. Real quick, if this is something that you are digging, let me know in the comment section. If there's something you would tweak or change, let me know down in the comment section. Like the video too. Always enjoyed doing videos like this, and let's keep going with the rework. Well, okay, Rob. Well, you've increased the suits a little bit, so now he can have some stacking buffs, which is nice, but what else does Joe Fixit do? Well, my friend, let's get into the special attacks here. Special attack 1, the bleed is going to stay the same. Special attack 2, the stun is going to stay the same. Now, special 3 is going to wind up inflicting trauma instead of another bleed. What trauma does is that it deals additional direct damage in addition to the regular hit damage. So you wind up being able to deal more damage and can bypass a couple of annoying abilities as well. That's going to play especially well with the special 1, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. Now, with all of those 3 special attacks, they are going to be, like I said, still keeping a debuff, but in addition, you're going to wind up being able to get a flush bonus, turning those debuffs from debuffs into passives. Now, what is a flush bonus? Well, a flush bonus, since we're playing with the idea of cards already, is just that. If you've got 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the exact same suit, you're going to wind up getting a bonus for having the exact same thing. So not only does that, as a negative, lock you into one specific aspect of Fixit's kit, whether it's heals, whether it's exhaust, whether it's a crit rate up, or whether it's fury up, it locks you into that one thing. But it's going to wind up turning the special attacks into passives, which is going to be very nice, as well as marginally increasing the timer that those debuffs are active depending on how many cards you've got. So This is where his SIG ability, having a higher SIG ability, comes into play, because not only does that mean that your bleed, that your stun, and your trauma is going to be passive, but it's going to stay that way for longer. The idea here is that Joe Fixit is going to wind up being playable and usable as a base, unawakened, rank 3 champion, or if you want to wake him up, or for those of us who have pulled Joe Fixit several times, that's going to wind up rewarding the player as well for having a higher SIG Fixit as well. Now, speaking of the awaken ability, like I was saying, you can wind up adding 3 additional cards to Joe Fixit's hand. So for a base level 1 awakening, you wind up getting 3 cards instead of 2. You can wind up getting a 4th card at SIG 100 and a 5th card at SIG 200. The way I figure it is that it is a decimal value rounding down, and once you get to the next value, that's when you get that additional card. Again, playing off of the Red Guardian kit. Not breaking precedent, just interpreting it and having fun with it in a different way. Well, having those extra cards is nice, but it doesn't give you a whole lot to work with in between SIGs 1 and 100, and then 100 and 200. And that's where the 5th card comes in. The 5th card adds a 5th tool to Joe Fixit's toolkit, in that it gives him a vulnerability. So you can wind up stacking your hand however you like. At SIG 200, you could have 1 of each. You could have 5 heals. You could have 5 vulnerabilities if you like, 5 furies, 5 all that. And all of those are passives, which is great. It bypasses nullify, it bypasses voids nonsense, and it keeps in line with how Joe Fixit functions currently, which again is one of the biggest facets that I want to keep. I want to change the character, give him cool stuff, but I want to keep the best parts about him active. And as much flack as poor Joe Fixit gets for being a meme is cool and is unique. Now, to cap off everything else, I want to give Joe Fixit a Don Capo crossfight pre-fight ability. Now, what is a Don Capo crossfight? Well, it's going to involve Joe Fixit and 1 other designated player. Who it is going to be whoever you want. Have fun with that. But it's just between Fixit and somebody else. Kind of give an extra incentive for having a Fixit on your roster. Now, whoever you wind up designating the Capo, both Fixit when you play Fixit and then the Capo when you play the Capo, have an X% power increase. Something relatively reasonable, 5%, something like that. That way you can wind up, having an increased power rate for literally anybody else you want. Whether it's a Mystic champ that can benefit from Mystic Dispersion, Mordo for an increased power rate right there. Also, when her bullets are depleted, get increased power rate, or, just literally anybody else. Hulk, have at it. They have that 5% increased power rate in addition to Fixit. Well, that's really nice, but, well, it wouldn't be the mob if there wasn't a wee bit of backstabbing. So, what happens if Joe Fixit or his designated Capo are KO'd? Well, then you get a debuff reducing power rate by that same X%. Well, that's not really great, because that takes all the fun out of it. Does it though? Because some champions are going to wind up benefiting from having that debuff on them, triggering willpower. So you wind up trading a bit of your power for that heals. Or if you're somebody like Kingpin, well, you could shrug that off right away, and that winds up building up his fury charges. You wind up ignoring it outright. Some champions even still, you wind up getting extra hits before you get pushed to your next special trigger. The possibilities for being able to use and exploit and have fun with this are really endless, between either wanting to have somebody have that increased power rate or have that debuff decreased power rate. All that being said, what would an attack rotation look like for Joe Fixit? Well, ideally, we'll just say it's a SIG 100, right? You've got a designated Capo, so Fixit has that increased power rate. You could wind up having a lot of fun with some of his various debuffs between the vulnerability and the trauma. Much the same way as you can with, again, Red Guardian. I want to keep stressing this, is that it takes existing aspects that are already in the game with other science champions, so it's within the realm of science plausibility, and just reapplied in a different way. So Joe Fixit could build up to a special 3 with that increased power gain, throw said special 3, and then because, again, he's got that increased power rate, it'll be a lot easier to push your way to a special 1 with each of the existing hits from the bullets from his Tommy gun, also inflicting bonus direct damage. So Joe Fixit would wind up being able to bypass a lot of nonsense, deal additional damage, plus in addition to the bleeds that he already has. Synergies, you can have a lot of fun with it. You could have a gun-toting synergy with various weapon wielders. You could have a Fantastic Four synergy because Joe Fixit was part of the Fantastic Four at one point with Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine as like the Fantastic Four backup squad. Basically, you could have a synergy with that. You could have a synergy with the Hulks. You could have a lot of fun with Joe Fixit, but that's what I got. What do you guys think about the Joe Fixit rework? Is this something that you'd be interested in? And are you going to wind up voting Fixit? Let me know down in the comment section, and we'll catch you guys next time. I'm VonShoe. Take care. Talk soon. Stay safe. Be well, everybody. Bye for now.